Okay, so this is a reaction video to an interview that was posted October 6th, 2024. Posted by Colby Ryan, the one surviving son of Vallow. And he posted like a jail phone call with his mother, a recent one, it appears to be. And I want to post a reaction video to this. I'm going to add on sections of this interview, like to my Vallow video and to my ESFJ Momsters video and stuff like that. But I feel like this call deserves a reaction video of its own. It is just, I have to say, like, this is the most horrifying piece of true crime that I've ever listened to in my entire life. Okay? This goes down in like True Crime Hall of Fame, okay? And with the internet buzzing with information about narcissistic abuse and stuff, like, this is so painful to listen to. Like, the devil loves our reactions. The devil loves seeing us feel grief and rage at their games that they play and everything. And so, you know, I use my Neville-guided spirituality to keep my energy high, despite how viscerally, you know, you could feel rage and grief in the face of the devil and their lies. So, but I just want to say that no matter how much I try to keep my energy high or whatever, this interview hit me really hard. This interview This interview, you know, I was able to hold it in and, you know, ride the waves of it inside, but I felt extreme rage, you know, and extreme grief, you know, listening to this interview. It is just insanity. And like, as much as the devil wants to stamp out goodness and light and love and everything, you know, good people also want to stamp out the darkness of the devil, you know. So it's like you think she should die, you know, give her the death penalty, get the devil out of this world, you know. But at the same time, you know, I don't believe in the death penalty. I don't believe in the death penalty in any case, no matter how much she deserves to die for what she did. It's like, we are killing too much insight when we kill prisoners. You know, as painful and sickening as it is to listen to her go on with her son telling him this bogus story, it is so educational. We need this education. The only reason that, you know, narcissists can get away with what they do is because it's in the darkness and it's not spoken about, you know. And so we really need these educational examples out in the public to change everything, you know. So this is one of the most, again, you know, like I thought Vallow's sentencing speech was one of the most educational video clips in existence on the issue of like covert narcissism, specifically the ESFJ covert narcissist variety. I think this interview goes right along with that. Now I'm going to pair them together. You know, her interview with her son after the fact, after she's had some time to try to throw a story together, and her sentencing speech. They are some of the most educational video clips in existence on the issue of covert narcissism, and the whole world needs these examples to see what kind of evil is really out there in the world that we're facing right now. And so I am so happy that this interview exists. You know, I downloaded it, screenshot it, you know, whatever, copied it, you know, just in case it gets removed from the internet, because this is just mind-blowingly educational, you know. So mind-blowingly educational and very painful. So that's a little bit of my reaction and introduction to the video. Now I'm going to describe the video a little bit for my perception of it. So in the first couple minutes, she says something like Tylee visited her in a dream or something and apologized for always being such a brat. Wow. So she's revealing that Tylee wasn't a good little enabler like she needed, you know? It seems like the way that she's painting Colby as the little golden child right now, like, you're the only one who deserves to know the story. She goes on and says that a million times in this interview, like, I wanted to tell you privately, Colby, because you're the only one who deserves to know the real story, blah, 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 you know? So I'm guessing he was a better enabler than his sister Tylee, because here she goes, making him the golden child and making her the scapegoat or whatever. She's saying, like, that, you know, that she's having trouble with Tylee, obviously, by calling her a brat, you know, revealing that Tylee needs to apologize from heaven about being a brat. There's so much projection there, you know, she's projecting her badness on Tylee again and using her as a scapegoat. And so that's just a little preview of where it's going to go. And then it goes further, of course. It always goes further. It goes further than you would ever dream it could go, you know. And so, spoiler alert, despite the timeline being that it seems that Tylee disappeared before JJ and JJ was seen after weeks after or whatever, and the timeline of this story doesn't match up with the evidence, like, she basically told Colby in this interview that she had left Tylee and JJ to be babysat by Tylee, and that she came home to both of them dead, and so and that it was because Tylee must have killed JJ, and then Tylee killed herself. Yeah, and then she says later, she says, like, when Colby's like, she killed herself, she killed my brother, and then she killed herself. And then she's like, yeah, Lori's like, yeah, you know, she knew that if I came home and saw that she had killed her brother on accident, or, you know, by just going too far trying to control him or whatever, that I would take the fall for her and I would go to jail for her, and she didn't want that to happen. She was protecting me and I was protecting her the whole time. All my silence this whole time was to protect Tylee. Oh my God, like, her stories are so convoluted, so sick. I've never heard anything more sick and evil in my entire life. She just killed her children to run off with her similarly demonically possessed evil devil Chad Daybell death cult leader husband. She killed both of her innocent children, one who was starting to become a teenager and stand up to her and say no. She killed them. I feel personally related to this, being raised by an ISFJ covert narcissist. Like, anyone who survived an SFJ, an ISFJ, or an ESFJ covert narcissist monster, and when they were going through teen years and saying no to them, you know, this hits home. It hits hard home, you know. And Tylee was not as lucky as some of us that survived mothers like this, okay? And it is just so sick watching the devil parade around in the guise of a good, loving mother. It's bad enough when the devil parades around in the guise of the love of your life, you know, romantically. But when it is parading around in the guise of a good, loving mother that you're supposed to trust as your protector, there's nothing more sick and evil in the world. So she got rid of her children so she could run off with her cult leader, devil Chad Daybell husband, who I assume is ISFJ, too similar to her. And then she blames the death on her daughter. She blames the deaths of her children on her daughter. So there's always someone to blame. You know, it's always someone else that she's putting it on. It's always one me. So, but in the sickest way possible, you know. And then to go even further, you know, and I take this very personally because I am a true INFJ. I am a true outlier personality that, you know, is as close to a human prophet as there's going to be, you know. And at the end of her interview, she also paints herself as a prophet, just like Jesus, or a chosen one of Jesus. You know, she says that Jesus gave her missions to do, and that the reason that, you know, there are attacks on her family, on her and her kids and everything, is like the devil is retaliating on her for doing Jesus's work and stuff. So the devil's not only coming under the guise of a good, loving mother, but the devil's coming under the guise of a prophet. So it's insanity. It's disgusting, and it's the most disgusting, sickening, painful, horrifying, but educational thing I've ever heard in my entire life. So this is covert narcissism for you right here. And everybody needs to be aware of this, because every 1 in 4 people could be an ISFJ or ESFJ covert narcissist momster. There are too many people living with momsters like Lori Vallow right now. And it has to stop. And that's why I'm making this video right now.
I'm not saying she actually visited you, but you had some kind of dream that had upset you. And I wondered, because she had passed away, if she had actually visited you and told you something, because she visited me and told me plenty of things. And the very first thing she told me was, "I'm sorry, Mom, for being such a brat." That's the first thing that she told me. And it was so entirely, and it was so her. So I just wondered if she had said something to you that you recalled. And that was such a long time ago. I just always have wondered what happened. But
do you want me to say what I've seen personally?
Sure.
So it's gonna be heavy. So I hope you're ready for this. They found my little brother in a bag, tied up, buried, and then they found remnants of my sister. Remnants, not even a person anymore. Remnants of her.
Can you imagine why that is? Do you have any reason to think that would happen?
No.
So did you know Tylee's desire of wanting to be cremated?
That was your version of cremating her? That was
it wasn't mine.
Because that doesn't sound...
It wasn't mine. But did you know that she had that desire?
No.
Well, so you don't know because you weren't there, but when, after Charles passed away, and Alex and I and Tylee were at our table in there at the house in Chandler, and we were going over Charles' wishes, and Charles had put all his stuff down saying he wanted to be cremated, and don't ever put me in a box or I'll come back and haunt you, because he was claustrophobic. He didn't like the idea of being in a box, and he had said all these funny things on his letter to me. And Tylee said to me and Alex at the time, she said, "Don't you put me in a box either." She's like, "Whenever I'm out of here, I want to be cremated." That was her big thing.
So why wasn't she cremated then? Why didn't you cremate her? If she wasn't murdered, why was she picked?
But she wasn't.
Okay, according to what you say, and you say you were there, I'm trying to give you this space without telling you what I think and feel. I'm trying to ask you the question because that's not cremation. I have my brother and sister's ashes. That's cremation. I have them.
Can you imagine coming in on that scene? Can you imagine as a mother, you're a father now. So imagine you come in and find 2 of your children deceased.
So they just died out of nowhere.
I didn't say that.
You come home or whatever, and both your kids are dead. And then what? You just never tell me what happened? Or you never tell anybody anything? I'm trying to understand you.
You can't, because you can't imagine what that is like. You can't even imagine, you know how much I love those kids. You know how much I've put into them. You know how much I've done everything to protect them. You know how much I've done everything to get Tylee every kind of help, fought in every kind of court to keep her safe, fought in every kind of hospital so they wouldn't do a whole bunch of horrible stuff to her when she was sick all the time. You know what I did for them.
I know.
So you imagine walking in, finding them, and they had been gone for hours. There is nothing I can do, even though you just can't imagine. You can't imagine that scenario because until you live it, you can't imagine that scenario. And when I came in, and I knew Tylee had been upset, and I knew that she was upset with me that weekend because she wouldn't stay at the house because I would Melanie Gibb stay there. She hates Melanie Gibb, as you know. Everyone knows this. She hated her. And she couldn't stand her smell because she had the essential oils, and Tylee got sick off the essential oils in 6th grade because her teacher made her drink the essential oils in 6th grade to help with pancreatitis, if you remember all that. So she didn't want to stay there. So I asked her to babysit JJ, put him to bed that night, which is what she always has done, right? She was going to sit in bed. I was going to do my podcast with stupid Melanie and Dave, right? So JJ wouldn't interrupt it. And then I was picking him up in the morning to get him ready and take him to school. And when I came in on that scene, and they were gone, I thought Tylee did it to get back at me. I thought it was all my fault. I thought she was mad at me, and that's what had happened. And the reason why she visited me and why JJ visited me and came to me right after that is because to tell me that it wasn't my fault, because I was blaming myself 100%. 100%. Why didn't I get Tylee more help? Why did I let her get off of her meds? Why did I not do something different? Why did I let Melanie Gibb stay here? Why did I do any of these things that would lead to this? How could it possibly have happened? Why and how? Why and how? I mean, you can't even imagine what that is like. No one on the earth can imagine what that's like.
You're telling me that Tylee took JJ's life and then took her own life.
On accident.
And took her own life then? After? So who chopped and burned her? And who duct taped JJ and put him in the ground? What I'm asking you. You were saying what? So you told me.
Sorry, you're just cutting out. I can't hear what your question is.
So you're telling me Tylee took JJ's life, then took her own life, and then someone cremated her by dismembering her and burning her and throwing her in a pet cemetery, and then somebody bound JJ, put him in a trash bag, and threw him in the backyard. And that was it. That was the end of it.
What I'm saying is I wasn't aware what happened to them after I left that scene.
Okay, so you gave it to someone else. You gave the responsibility to someone else, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. And then
I didn't. I just ran out.
Okay. So you're saying someone else took care of the situation.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said you.
It's breaking up.
I'm saying that you're saying to me that someone else took care of it. That's it. Then I don't have to go into more detail there. Somebody else took care of these things. So you.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
I'm telling you that their spirits were gone from their bodies at that time. They were gone. They were already in heaven. They were already gone.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So you're saying that they were gone, and why, if that's the case, then why wouldn't you just tell us? What was their secrecy for? Why didn't anybody know?
There's a lot of reasons. Colby and I've gone over that a million times, and
Okay.
I can tell you from the beginning, my thoughts then and my thoughts now obviously are different. I've had lots of therapy about it, to kind of work through it myself. But at the time, I didn't want anyone to know what Tylee had done to JJ, and I wanted to continue to protect Tylee as her mother, who has been trying to protect her whole life. Like, this is my scenario, Colby. What if Tylee holding JJ down for too long, trying to get him to not scream and be loud in the apartment, which she was always upset about. We weren't in a big house anymore. We were in these tiny little apartments, and he was loud. And what if she held him down too long and realized afterwards what she had done? What if she had come running to me and told me what she had done, right? That it was an accident? Do you not think that I would have told police that I did it to save Tylee? Because you know that I would have. I would have done anything to protect Tylee. And in my mind at that time, and some people might think it's not rational, but wasn't rational at that time, because you can't imagine what it's like to find your children in that way. You can't imagine. So no, I was not being rational. However, I was still protecting Tylee in my mind, and I still am. This is why I only wanted to tell you privately. I didn't want to tell the world what went on. I didn't want to tell the world that Tylee stopped taking her medication 2 weeks before this. She was on anti-anxiety medication, anti-depression medication. She was on a medication for panic attacks, and she was on birth control so her ovarian cysts wouldn't be bad. She was on all that stuff. And when we moved up to Idaho, 2 weeks before, a week after we got there, she said she didn't want to take her meds anymore. And I said, honey, you can't go off meds cold turkey. You can't just you have to wean off of them. And you know how she was, and you know how stubborn she was, and you know how she would do anything that I told her to do, and she would do the opposite. So no, I haven't wanted to tell everybody, and nobody could even understand how it could get to this point unless they understood what had happened to Tylee since she was 3 years old. So yes, I have been protecting Tylee. I will continue to protect Tylee. I didn't want this to be made public. I didn't testify in court for that purpose.
To protect her
name? They could put me in here for 5 lifetimes. They could put me in here for 1 million lifetimes. It doesn't matter to me.
So I just want to understand, because this is what I asked you before. You're telling me that all of this is to protect my sister's name because of what she did. Is that what you're telling me?
In my mind, yes.
Okay. I want you to know that, because I want this to be.
It's the commission of Lucifer trying to make my life miserable. That's what it is.
Okay.
It's not from Christ. Christ lets things happen and strengthens you through it when he attacks you.
Okay.
This is not done from Jesus. This is Lucifer attacking our lives, my life, and including your life, because you are my child. So you have also been attacked, and I am very sorry for that. There's nothing I can do. I leave it in Jesus' hands to handle it, because he is strengthening us through this attack. It's just like he let it all happen to Job. Why did he let Job get to that point and suffer so much? Why did he have every single thing taken away from him? Why? Why did he let all those things happen? He has a purpose.
Right.
And he told me, this is what Jesus told me 20 days before I was arrested in Hawaii. Okay. Jesus came to me, and he has several times since I've been in jail, but he came to me 20 days before I was arrested, and he said this, Lori, there is a purpose for your whole life. It is my purpose, so trust it. What do you think I thought at that time? They were talking about arresting me, and I knew I hadn't hurt anybody. I knew I never would hurt anybody. But so I didn't think I was going to get this. And he's going to make it known to the world what his purpose is in his due time. Whenever he feels like doing that, you will know. And I want you to know right now that nothing is more important to me than you. I love you. I've always loved you and cherish our relationship as eternal. I understand you being upset with me. I get it 100%. I don't blame you. But I want you to know that no matter what you've ever said about me or done or said on the media or anything negative, I forgive you. I don't hold it against you. I love you. I understand completely. And you will know one day, Colby, and you know. And that's all I can tell you. I love you more than anything. I miss being a part of your life and my grandchildren's life. I know why you're probably doing that, but we have an eternal relationship, you know. Ava came to me the night before she was born. I didn't even know that Chelsea was due with the baby, and she came to me the night before she was born, and I held her as a baby in the spirit world, and she told me that we had loved each other for eons of time, and that she loved me so much, and the joy that filled me when I held that little baby filled me. Colby, she came to me because she knew that you wouldn't let me see her and you wouldn't let me talk to her, but she said our relationship is eternal, and she loved me, and I'm her grandma whether you like it or not. She said, I'm your grandma whether my parents like it or not. And so there is a purpose in all this, and I'm sorry it's been hard on you, honey. I love you so much, and I'm sorry this has been awful. I pray for you every minute. I was crying in church one day, and I was sitting there crying about you, and I was worried about you. And Jesus.
But this is something you and I cannot agree on. And I need to set that base now. We do not agree on that. I want to make sure that somehow, some way, you're not stuck in this place forever. Because I don't know what you think. People have said that you have a delusional disorder of hyper-religiosity. And you know what?
Because if you tell anybody you've had a visit from Jesus, that's what they say. That's what psychological world says. But I am not crazy. I never was. When I was at the hospital, I met lots of people who were. And I wouldn't call them crazy, but that have mental disorders. And I do not.
Okay.
Same thing about all the prophets who said they saw Jesus. They said, well, and they're mad. Like, well, if it came to you, why doesn't he come to me? Why doesn't he come and tell me this stuff, right? It's the Sadducees and the Pharisees. It's all of that. So what I'm upset about hearing your statement is that it's the first time I realized, and I'm sorry for you, honey, because I love you so much, but it's the first time I realized that when Jesus asked me to be like Job, that you're also having to be like him, because I know you lost everything and all at once.
So another thing with the recent Lori Vallow interview, like the part about cremation, like, oh my god, like, I want everyone to notice a theme of like being preoccupied with death, you know, having too much focus on death, you know, and taking every, you know, little comment about death and running with it, you know, that appears with narcissists, and especially covert narcissists. So like, I mean, when she's trying to tell Colby, well, she was burned because didn't you know she wanted to be cremated? Oh, you didn't know that? You didn't know that when we were having a weirdo conversation after I got my husband killed by my brother, that, and Kylie made a comment, which maybe she did or didn't, that she go ahead and cremate me too when I'm out of here. Like, if a kid makes a comment like that, like, most parents are, you know, not going to focus on it too much, right? It's like, death is not anywhere on the horizon for you, young one, whatever, you know, so you just put it out of your head. But if Tylee did actually say anything like that, you know, the fact that years later, you know, like, Lori took that and ran with it and made it part of her story as to why Tylee got burnt up in the backyard, her husband's backyard, like, holy, OMFG, like, oh my god. So, just like I said in the ESFJ Gemma Teller videos or whatever, like, these ESFJ covert narcissists will reveal themselves with their fascination for death and their love for death. how much they are lusting for death and looking for any excuse for death. Like, Tara is, you know, dying for any sorry. Gemma Teller is dying. ESFJ covert narcissist Gemma Teller is dying for any reason to kill Tara because her, you know, Tara and Jax have real love, you know. And so Gemma's like, she betrayed him. Tara betrayed him. So she invents some story about how Tara betrayed him or whatever, you know. And that's why she gets to her excuse to kill him, you know. And that's how this is with this Lori too. Like she's just fast. And I also said, like, Gemma Teller, like, her loyalty to the club is symbolic for her loyalty to death. Okay? The covert, that's one reason why Sons of Anarchy portrayed a covert narcissist so beautifully, so accurately, because Gemma Teller's true loyalty is not to her family. It's not even to herself. You know, people think of narcissists as, like, people who are just full of themselves and their image, and, like, yeah, that's, like, actually second. Like, the importance of their false image, I almost think that's second to their loyalty to death, you know? So, you know, it's either tied or it's second. So let's say the covert narcissist's main loyalties are, one, to their false image, their false self-image, you know, like looking good in front of other people or whatever. You know, they don't have to actually be good, but they have to look good, look like they're good people, look like people you would want to be like, you know. And then their other loyalty is to death. And you especially see this with the covert narcissists. And like I said, with Gemma Teller, her being so loyal to that club, the Anarchy Club or whatever, that was symbolic for her loyalty to death, the covert narcissist loyalty for death. And that's one of the giveaways for covert narcissism. Okay? And it's the same with Lori Vallow. Lori Vallow, the reason why she wanted her ISFJ husband, Chad Daybell, is because he had these death cult ideas and a death cult following, and he had spun all these narratives in his books, which I have not read yet, but the general gist, you know, it's like, you know, they come up with reasons why death is a good thing, you know. And so this is a primary giveaway for covert narcissism. Overt narcissists love death too, but covert narcissists, like, I feel like I really see this theme even stronger with them, probably because they're more emotionally driven, so they have more people they want to kill and get rid of. You know, overt narcissists, as much as they love playing games, mind games, and blah blah blah, you know, they're not as emotionally driven as covert narcissists. Okay, like INTJ or ENTJ born narcissists that have an absence of affective empathy, like, they don't hate people as much to need to go and kill them, okay? But the ESFJ, ISFJ covert narcissist variety, they are very emotionally driven. They have the dead surface of no empathy or whatever, but deep down, they're driven by deep emotions, you know? Deep emotions that drive them to want to kill people, even more than overt narcissists, who just don't have that emotional drive to want to kill people as much. So I think that we see in a theme of loving death in covert narcissists even more than with overt narcissists. And so a giveaway for covert narcissists like this ESFJ and ISFJ, her ISFJ husband is an example too, Chad Daybell, of the other variety of an SFJ covert narcissist that loves death, lusts for death, and looks for any excuse for death, you know? So the whole fact that they're wrapped up in a death cult is symbolic of their covert narcissism. You know, it's a giveaway for their covert narcissism. It's symbolic to their loyalty for death, you know? And then her latching on to some throwaway comment that Tylee may or may not have ever made about, yeah, cremate me too when I'm out of here, like she just brings that up, like, so casually, as if she's doing her daughter a favor after she murdered her daughter, you know, in loyalty to death, in a death cult. you know? And motherhood is another way that she's able to do that, pull off all of this death stuff, you know, like, and say that it was all under the guise of loving mother. And I said, like, in some of my other videos too, that these covert narcissist mothers love when their kids are like special needs or disabled or on medication or whatever, because it makes them easier to control in life and death and everything. And here she is revealing that again. Like, if you go to my ESFJ Momsters video, you'll hear me talking about how these ESFJ Momsters like Dee Dee Blanchard and Lori Vallow and Norma Bates and everybody, they love when their kids are passive P-types. They love when their kids are disabled, mentally ill, on medication, especially psychiatric medication or hormonal medication like Tylee was on, like she claims Tylee was on. It's like, now the fact that Tylee was on some kind of teenager medications, you know, now she's using that after the fact as part of her little story of how this death happened, all these deaths around her happened, you know. So it's another way that she can gaslight people after they're dead, use gaslighting and use revision after they are dead, you know. So that's what she's doing. That's what ESFJ Covert Narcissist Lori Vallow is doing. Like, the fact that her child may or may not have been on medications, but that fact that she can say that Tylee was on medications, on birth control and depression and anxiety meds. Who wouldn't be living with the freaking devil herself as a mother? I mean, if Tylee felt anything, you know, anxiety, depression, it's because she lived with the devil herself as a mother her whole life, you know, with Lori projecting her badness on her constantly, you know. So like I said, like, the covert narcissist Lori Vallow, she loves, you know, and the ESFJ covert narcissist and momster in general, they have a very Munchausen vibe to them. They like their kids sick, disabled, dependent on psychiatric medications or whatever that they can use as a scapegoat. She's using the psychiatric medications that her child is on as a scapegoat just as much as she's using her child as a scapegoat now, you know? And so you have to watch these ESFJ covert narcissist momsters. Like, they're gonna look all perfect and look all like their mother of the year or whatever, beauty pageant mom or whatever. And then what they really love is death. What they're really looking for is any excuse for death, constantly projecting their badness on everyone, and having a very Munchausen vibe to them, where they like their kids sick, disabled, dependent, unable to speak for them, or dead, unable to speak for themselves. These ESFJ covert narcissist momsters, they need ultimate gaslighting power. They need ultimate power of revision. And that is better gained when their kids are sick, dependent, mentally ill, disabled, or dead. You know? And so that's how it is with Tylee. Like, she could not control, gaslight, and revise well enough with Tylee challenging her and saying no. So she had to get rid of her. Then she's able to gaslight and revise without anyone interfering with her. Okay, so I want us to notice with covert narcissists. I'm just going to talk specifically about covert narcissists right now. Some of this may also be true to overt narcissists, like the INTJ variety, but right now I'm just talking about the covert narcissists, since they're more emotionally driven. And I want to say that like I said, you're going to see with covert narcissists, they have a loyalty to death above all, even maybe above their false self-image. And you see this demonstrated with how attracted they are to death, and how preoccupied they are with it, how they need to make death a beautiful thing, you know, by getting super hyper religious and stuff, and finding a story that makes it seem like sending people to death is a wonderful, kind, good thing to do, or whatever, any excuse, or the right thing to do, any excuse for death. So with covert narcissists, you're going to see this attraction and preoccupation with death, and, looking for any kind of reason or any kind of alliances that help them pursue deathist agendas. So you see that with the best fictional character case study of ESFJ, Gemma Teller. That's the best fictional covert narcissist case study. You see that she's loyal to death by joining the death club, the Sons of Anarchy death club or whatever, that meets out revenge or whatever. And then Lori Vallow, you see it, she's the real life best ESFJ covert narcissist case study, and you see that she has this drive and lust for death by the way she latches on to Chad Daybell, who already has a cult following that's loyal to death. But on top of that, I just want to say that, like, covert narcissism itself is like a death club or a death cult. They died to their false self at some point from their trauma, and they want everyone else to die with them. They're on a mission, and whatever emotions they have, whatever emotional drive they have is expressed in a deathist way. They feel like they're the walking dead already because they died from their trauma. They died to their false self from trauma. And so they want everyone else to die too. They want everyone else to die to their false self and be the walking, living dead like they are, or go ahead and take their bodies out of this world. Either way. But whatever way it comes in, that's what they want. That's what they want above all. They want everyone else to be dead, whether their bodies are taken out of this world or whether they are the walking dead zombies, that died to their false self just like they did from their trauma. And so that's what they really want. And they will spin any story on earth, as you can see with Lori Vallow. They will spin any story on earth to pursue their deathist agendas in their cult of covert narcissism, their death cult of covert narcissism. So I want us to look at covert narcissism as a death cult of its own that's always trying to recruit more people into the death cult of covert narcissism by traumatizing them, And then if they can latch on to some other kind of death cult following too, and, get a job or a profession that allows them to kill, a license to kill or blah, 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 like a lot of ISFJ or ESFJ covert narcissists become nurses, they're the kind of nurses that, kill their patients. So that would be another example, of them following their deathist agenda and their death cult of covert narcissism, kind of like Lucy Letby or, the original Annie Wilkes story where she's like, she kills babies, in the hospital and she's a nurse or whatever. So I want us to recognize that covert narcissism in itself is a death cult of its own that is always looking to recruit more members to be dead with them. So just like I said at the beginning, like the devil wants our grief and rage reactions. I'm pretty sure like the sense that I get from this, last interview, it's like that's all it was for. It was all about getting, grief and rage reactions, She acts like it was like to do Colby a favor and finally tell him the real story or whatever, after 4 years of silence that they didn't talk to each other. But I want to say, like, I think that all the details that she gave in the story about Tylee too now after the fact, so much later when the story doesn't even matter anymore, when the story mattered, she used silence tactically, And now when it doesn't matter anymore, now, now she can make her flowery stories, And the point of the flowery stories is to add insult into injury and feed off the incredulous reactions, I mean, she's even gaslighting and psychologically abusing and emotionally abusing her own son in that interview while claiming to love him so much, And what she's doing with the Tylee story is adding insult to injury. Just like a serial killer in court that, like, smiles at their victim or smiles at their victim's family, or makes a comment about how much they really enjoyed, like, hurting their victim or whatever, This story now, this flowery story she's making after the fact is one to kind of, like, gloat and rub it in her victims' faces, just like a serial killer would do, the most audacious serial killers. And it's to add insult to injury, It's to insult Tylee even further, and like make a mockery of her, The devil makes a mockery of, everything good. And so she's making a mockery of her daughter. There's already content on the internet about like how narcissistic mothers hate their daughters or whatever. And of course, everyone who knows what it feels like, including me, who is a daughter raised by a narcissistic mother who could never love them and always hated them and worked against them, like this Lori Vallow interview is like, those people can all have a field day with this, because this is just so validating, exposing a mom like this and falsifying all of her fake love and everything that so many daughters in the world can relate to right now. The internet is exploding with information about narcissistic abuse. So this is one of the most educational examples of the way that narcissistic mothers hate their children. I mean, daughters specifically, but they hate their children in general while they act like they love them. And then they're constantly working against them, trying to sabotage them. And so, like, this interview with Colby is just another way for her to express how much she hates her children. Like, with covert narcissists, covert means disguised and hidden, under the guise of something else, right? I mean, the word covert informs so much, It means that what we're looking at isn't going to be what we're looking at face value, It's going to be under the guise of something. So what we're really looking at is under the guise of something, that we think we're looking at that we're not really looking at, So that's why, whatever act she's putting on is the fake guise, and whatever is actually the truth is usually the opposite of that, So she's talking about how the devil's after her because she's evil. No, it's actually the opposite. She's the devil after good people, and stuff like that, So, and the truth that I just love my precious baby so much. I just love my precious baby so much. Like, no, the opposite is true. You actually hate them, The disguise is of a loving mother, Whatever she's presenting on the surface is the disguise, is the false act, And what is the truth is the opposite of that. So with a covert narcissist, basically, the truth is like opposite of what they say, like almost a majority of the time, So if you want to decode a covert narcissist, which they always try to talk in code instead of talking straight up, just like they think they're like CIA or something, since they're covert narcissists and they've got that cool word covert in their diagnosis, they're always trying to talk in code and everything. Well, one of the most obvious codes is called the code of projection, and then the code of reverses of like, the reverses that are involved with someone who's covert, like, or the opposite interpretation of someone who's covert. Because if they're trying to, pass themselves off as one thing, they're trying to get by as one thing, and they're posing as the opposite to get by with that one thing, They can't get away with being the devil unless they pose as the mother, a good mother. So yeah, decoding the covert narcissist language is as simple as just looking for a lot of projection and assuming the opposite is true of, compared to everything they say. So the most important thing that isn't true in this is that she loves her baby so much. she actually can't love them at all. She never could. She hates them. And this interview where she's adding insult to injury to Tylee's memory and stuff like that, and, you know, trying to get reactions from the public for smearing Tylee and stuff like that, it's just extra proof, just like a serial killer in court who's like, haha, I really enjoyed, you know, essaying your daughter or whatever, you know. So that's what it is, you know. It's like the devil needs some more attention, you know. Everything was quiet for years or whatever, and the devil needs another round of reactions and attention, you know, from all the lies that they would spin and all the, you know, the mockery that they would make of God, you know, of children, innocent children, and everything like that. So she just needed the reactions and to, you know, to make a mockery of her own daughter a little bit further, you know, just like a narcissist loyal to death and evil would do. So I heard some psychologist analysis yesterday. It was saying something like Lori needs to make up this delusional story after killing her kids because she just can't bear the reality that she killed her kids or whatever, you know. But I don't think it's that. She knows that she killed her kids, you know. Covert narcissists play dumb a lot, you know. And her being so religious and, you know, needing to make this big religious story about it or whatever, it's just part of the covert narcissism, and it's part of her being able to make a mockery of everything afterwards. Like, the devil and evil is not only loyal to, and covert narcissists are not only loyal to death, but they, you know, once they execute their deaths, they want to laugh about it afterwards too, and make light of it, and make a mockery of it and make a joke of it, you know, to add insult to injury, you know. It's not enough for the covert narcissist, ESFJ Lori Vallow, who's in a death cult of covert narcissism. It's not enough for her to just kill her children, you know. But she has to make up a big story about it, you know. A story that will make a big mockery of it. And I think it says a lot, her focusing on making the biggest mockery of Tylee and making the biggest villain and scapegoat out of Tylee, you know, but mostly just making the biggest mockery of her, like with the cremation comments and stuff, as if she did her a favor by burning her daughter after she murdered her or whatever. So I think that shows, like, you know, how everything is opposite day with covert narcissists. So, like, you know, if Lori's trying to paint Tylee out to be the bad one, you know, then she's probably, I mean, most children are good, but not all, you know, but she's probably just a good person, you know, who is out-virtuing her, you know, and everyone who out-virtues a covert narcissist is their main target, you know. They don't like to be around virtuous people or good people, you know. And also, you know, you can see Lori's lack of maternal sense in the way that she was always having other people take care of the kids, you know. Like her nephew would stay with her to take JJ to school, you know. And she keeps talking about Tylee taking care of JJ and keeping him under control and putting him to bed and all this other stuff. It was like she was checked out of the maternal role because she had no real maternal sense. So she was handing off the maternal role to everyone else. and Tylee was being the most maternal to JJ. So one thing that, narcissists, covert narcissists, they're allergic to love, true love, romantic love, maternal love, etc. Tylee was put in a position where she had to show maternal love to her younger brother because nobody could understand that Lori was never capable of showing maternal love to her children. But, even if no one was consciously aware of that, it was obvious that someone needed to be maternal for JJ because Lori wasn't, And so Tylee's put in this maternal role, parenting her younger sibling because her mother has no maternal sense. And then her maternal energy, Tylee's maternal energy makes her like repulsive and a target for elimination to Lori, because Lori is like the devil or the evil personified in her death cult of covert narcissism. So, so that made Tylee, the most satisfying target. Covert narcissists love to target mothers. They love to destroy the maternal love and maternal bonds and stuff just as much as they love to destroy romantic love and romantic bonds and true love and stuff like that. They also love to destroy maternal bonds, And what she had done by having no maternal sense was turn Tylee basically into JJ's mother, and then was breaking those maternal bonds and getting the satisfaction out of that. So as unconscious and, low intelligence, low vibration type of people or non-people, these covert narcissists, it's like as unintelligent and unconscious as they seem, like Lori is completely and fully aware that she has killed her children. She's not under any illusions like that. The delusional story or whatever is her cover, just like a spy's cover or whatever, it's the devil acting like a spy undercover as a mother, So she knows exactly what she did to her children. She knows that the truth is going to die with her. And she enjoys that she can still, get reactions and make a mockery and make light of it and laugh in the face of the evil, and, just be completely casual, like, ha ha ha, Didn't you know your sister wanted to be cremated? Ha ha ha. Whatever, she's just making a mockery of it to add insult to injury, just like the devil would do, Like, the devil can never get evil enough, Every opportunity that they can get more evil, they want to take it, So it wasn't evil enough what she did killing them, She really needs to make a mockery of it and laugh in the face of it, and make light of it to add further insult to injury. And so that's what that last interview is about. So I want to add on to this, my reaction to the prison call between Lori Vallow and her son Colby in 2024 by just adding on my reaction to his reaction, because he made another video reacting to the jail call after he aired the call, and there was some more insights that came out that are relevant, and instead of making a new video, I'm just going to add them onto this video. So the insights were that in his reaction video, I'm going to show the clips where he talks about how Lori said that Tylee hated her teacher because her teacher forced her to consume essential oils. And then Colby calls that out as a lie and says that his mom was the one that forced her to consume essential oils. And so I think that's important for two reasons. One, it shows the kind of Munchausen thing again. Like, I'm going to add these clips and this analysis to the ESFJ Momsters video too, where I talked about like ESFJ Momsters, covert narcissists like Dee Dee Blanchard, mother of Gypsy Rose, that kind of like use medication to keep their kids sick, to get attention or for other reasons, to harm them under the guise of protecting them or whatever. And so that's an example of that. And then it's also an example of role swapping. These covert narcissists are like the devil, and they realize that, if they're doing something bad, they need to find someone else to blame what the bad thing that they're doing on, And if they see someone in a good role, or what, they realize that they need to try to assume that role and steal that role for themselves, and do some kind of role swapping process. So, they observe someone doing good or in a good role, and then they're like, oh, I'll put on that role for myself, and they take it on for themselves, and then they paint themselves. And it's often like a role swapping process, with a good, putting themselves in the place of the good and virtuous one, even though they're the ones that are the personification of evil and the devil. And so I think it's really important that, narcissists blame things that they do on other people, like Lori Vallow is doing here with the essential oils, and they do a role swapping process, blaming their villainous behaviors on other people and taking on other people's good, virtuous behavior as their own, So they clearly understand they clearly understand that their personification of evil, that their whole will and existence seems to be devoted to evil for hits of narcissistic supply. And they realize that they need to be under the guise of something good to get access to more narcissistic supply. So, yeah. And so beyond that, I'll be showing another clip too, where Colby is talking to her and analyzing his reaction to her saying that she has a job from Jesus, and that, she's seen Lucifer threatening her for doing the mission from Jesus and stuff like that. And Lucifer wants her to kill herself so she can't do her job from Jesus and stuff like that. And that's a role swapping process there too. It's actually her being the personification of evil and the devil who wants good people to kill themselves and stuff like that, and she's persecuting good people as the devil, like Tylee. She persecuted her own daughter and her son, as the devil herself. And now she just tries to do some role swapping, saying that she's doing some mystery mission for Jesus and that Satan is getting back at her for it, So with these covert narcissists, you're going to see a theme of role swapping. They want to take on the good role for themselves and put the bad role on someone else, on a scapegoat, and do all of this in the pursuit of bigger hits of narcissistic supply.
What you're telling me. I don't need to hear the backstory of everything good you've ever done. That doesn't change anything. It has nothing to do with what I asked you or what we're talking about. There's so out of context. So out of context. So what are we talking about here? What are you talking about? I've done everything I've ever done, and I did everything for those kids, and I fed them, and I put clothes on their back, and I put a roof over their head. Okay, kind of the point. If your child goes to the hospital You should want to sleep on the floor next to him if you can't find a bed. I don't understand what we're freaking talking about here. Oh, guys, if Kelsey was here, she would be going off. She would be going crazy. Um, it's so frustrating because it's just like she's always kind of done that and thrown it in your face. Like, I've done everything I can for you. I've done everything for you. Okay, then don't do it for me because now you're throwing it back in my face. You raised me, you bought me a pair of Jordans, whatever. Then don't even take them back. Have them. Because if you're gonna throw what you did in people's faces, as a parent, by the way, not like your friend, not like your cousin, but your parent telling you, I've done all this, and this for you, giving you a list of stuff. I don't understand what this has to do with the context of what I asked. And I'm realizing that's the circle that we're going in here. Every time I ask a question, we go out of here. You guys like the sound effects? I'm putting this out here so Kelsey sees it. She will. We will definitely do something when it's the right time. All right, let's keep going.
Court to keep her safe.
Okay.
Fought in every kind of hospital so they wouldn't do a whole bunch of horrible stuff to her when she was sick all the time. You know what I did for them.
I know.
So you imagine walking in, finding them, and they had been gone for hours. There is nothing I can do, even though you just can't imagine. You can't imagine that scenario because until you live it, you can't imagine that scenario. And when I came in,
There we go.
and I knew Tylee had been upset, and I knew that she was upset with me that weekend because she wouldn't stay in the house because I would only stay there. She only give, as you know. Everyone knows this.
It's hard for me to listen to her talk. I'm getting more interested in what you guys are saying and listening to her repeat this stuff. Ugh, it's just so hard to listen to because I'm out of the emotion of the fact that I'm talking to her now. I'm out of the emotion. And as I'm listening, the more frustrating everything becomes. And I think she just mentioned it. I hope I'm right. She just mentioned that Tylee had to take the essential oils in 6th grade. My mom made her take those because her teacher was trying to help her with her health and said, here's a bunch of essential oils you can take. You can take the little pill capsules, fill them up, and take them. She genuinely cared. And my mom was the one who was forcing the essential oils on her. So, like, even stupid little things like that, where she's mixes it up, and now the teacher's the problem. The teachers made her take it. The teacher didn't make her take it. You did. I remember that. And Tylee hated it. And I even took them one time myself. And they were horrible because they can taste the essential oil. And then I remember I burped it up. TMI, don't care. It was literally one of the worst tastes and one of the worst feelings in my stomach ever having that essential oil inside me. So all I'm saying is stupid things like that to constantly make you look like the good guy and constantly flip little things like that on their heads is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm getting real frustrated. She walked in and found them. She thought Tylee killed JJ on purpose and came to her. You really do. Yes, exactly. Well, she wouldn't have went to trial if this was true. She wouldn't be in jail if this was true. She just has to understand I'm not stupid and no one else is. No one else is buying this stuff. There's actually, and I'm not pointing anybody out or I'm not trying to hurt somebody's feelings, but I could see that some people were definitely concerned with what she said and they were genuinely like maybe she's not lying. Yeah, that's the manipulation right there. I promise you. There's no evidence if you don't know, there's very clear evidence of what really happened. So no, she's not telling the truth. She's not being honest. Tylee did not do that to JJ. And my dad, Charles, did not just pass away. There's a lot of things that she said that are completely wrong. And so there's really nothing that there's no logic. There's no logic. So and then all the Jesus visitations and all that stuff is really, really rough because it's like Now you're just trying to validate yourself with the highest power there is.
He asked me to do a job for him. And I said that I could, and he said it was going to be terrible. Now, I'll tell you this.
Okay.
When you have a visit from Jesus, a personal visit,
Right.
then because there is opposition in all things, you will have a personal visit from Lucifer.
Okay.
So weeks after I had this visit with Jesus in the temple, I was in JJ's room at the big house where you got married.
Okay.
And Lucifer was standing right in front of me.
Okay.
And he said to me, I know who you are. I know exactly who you are. And I will stop you. Okay? So, Jesus gave me a job.
Okay.
Lucifer has done every single thing to get me to take my own life, because that is his goal. If I leave here, I cannot do my job for Jesus, right? The only thing I have to do for Jesus is...
All right. So I started crying here. This, I think, one of the first times I cried, because she was trying to tell me that the Savior, Jesus Christ, was basically gave her a job, and that she was going to suffer, and that she was going to go through hell. And now she brings in that she saw Lucifer, and now she's pulling all this spiritual stuff out of the sky, trying to validate herself as a spiritual being, trying to validate herself as this special person, like we talked about before. And the pain of that, because of what I know, what happened to my family, and how everybody was plotted against, and everything of that nature, I just started crying, because it's like you had an opportunity here to have a conversation about this stuff. I came in as calm as I could be, and we could have had a conversation, and this is what you're going to tell me. This is what you're going to try to pitch to me all over again. And this could be our last conversation we ever have. And this is what you're going to say. So I guess at the end of the day, it just hit me like a brick, because I know what she said about my family and my sister, my brother, my dad. And then she starts trying to pitch me this whole thing about Jesus. And I was just keep, going for the jugular. All right. Well, I think it's a good place to stop for us.